Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Very kind of you. I assume you are our mysterious party crasher. You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, Hans, wrong guess. Would you like to go for double jeopardy where the scores can really change?
Well, this time of year, you could say many things. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa. We're covering it all. Let's all love each other because it's that time of year when a whole bunch of these different holidays are happening. And this is The Pint, and you're back for what is our second to last episode of the year. My name is John.
My name is Lloyd.
I am Stu.
And I'm Anders.
And the four of us came together tonight because I was talking last week when we were recording our episode on Minority Report, which should be out at this point, to Stu and to Lloyd. And I said, what do you want to do for a Christmas episode this year? Do you want to talk about this, that, the other thing? Or do you want to go just straight up podcast, low-hanging fruit, and just do the goddamn Die Hard episode?
How have we never done this before?
We haven't. And in all honesty, I think it would have happened next year.
Yeah, I was going to say next year's its 35th anniversary, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we kind of got rid of the PMI this time last year, and we've been doing, kind of in place some of the anniversary episodes. I think it would have happened anyway, but you know what? Let's just fucking do it. Let's get all Die Hard in here. And because, nobody needs to hear this. Everybody knows this, but there's the big debate out there. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is it not? As we talk about this film, we will discuss our feelings on that and a whole bunch of other things. So let's get into it right off the bat. Die Hard came out on July 15th of 1988. So right off the bat, it's a summer movie. Summer blockbuster. Directed by John McTiernan, who directed a couple films we already talked about, Predator and Rollerball from 2002. Now, we talked about it in the episode, not only did he direct Rollerball 2002, he went to jail over that movie. That's a whole
incarcerated. Federal prison, baby.
He went to federal prison over that piece of trash shit movie.
What did he do? He wiretapped some
he wiretapped he had a private eye wiretap one of the producers, but it was all in relation to that movie. It wasn't about his career. It was about that movie.
Shit movie.
That would be like going to the electric chair for robbing a convenience store with no gun, and only getting away with a couple Snickers bars. You know what I mean? And then when you're on death row and you have to explain to people, what are you here for, man? I robbed a convenience store with my hand in my pocket looking like a gun. And I only got I literally got 2 chip witches out of the fucking freezer by the door.
Like a chip witch.
They're gonna fucking kill me here. All right, so here's a bunch of stuff, kind of a lot of writing history in this. Originally, there's a guy named Roderick Thorpe. Great name, by the way.
Yeah. He's
an ex-cop, and he wrote a novel in 1979 called Nothing Lasts Forever. He wrote a series of novels about this cop, this New York cop named Joe Leland. Okay, this was one of those novels. The original novel that came out in 1966 was called The Detective, another Joe Leland story. Crazily enough, so they end up changing the name to John McClane. But there was a Joe Leland movie in 1968 based on The Detective, starring Frank Sinatra. So
yes.
So technically, Die Hard is kind of a weird semi-sequel to this Sinatra movie. So Roger Thorpe writes this story, and Jeb Stewart gets hired to write this draft of this film. And the Nothing Lasts Forever story, the novel, was also about a guy visiting his daughter, not wife, at a high rise when a terrorist group infiltrate. So it's not like it's like so far off. So Jeb Stewart gets hired to write the first draft. This guy wrote Leviathan and The Fugitive, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
One of the things that he got to do when he got hired to write the first draft was he got to go to the building. We'll talk about the building in a minute while it was under construction. And he actually wrote scenes based on things that he saw. The elevator shafts, the computer room. He wrote like scenes to go along with that. So eventually there's a rewrite done. Stephen D. Souza, who wrote The Running Man, another episode we did very recently, and an episode we did a couple years ago, Judge Dredd, which is a fucking fantastic film from 1995. Stephen D. Souza comes in. He does a rewrite on this thing. So
Commando too.
And Commando as well.
Yeah.
You're correct. McTiernan gets involved, and they're off to the races. Now, Lloyd, what do we know? What do you know? Have you done some of your diligent research on the building itself? What is this building?
A little bit. First of all, and one more thing about D'Souza, he approached the story, the rewrite, as if Gruber was the protagonist.
Oh, okay. I didn't read that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, it's the Fox Plaza in Century City, Los Angeles. It was relatively unoccupied. There were a couple floors with some people there, so they could only work during certain hours, and they couldn't. The explosions couldn't hurt the building.
Yeah, a lot of the explosions, I guess, were actual. Some of the explosions were CGI, especially the final one, I believe, because they couldn't mess up this building that was under construction technically. Yeah,
my research shows most of the exterior shots of the building and the explosions were real.
Oh,
like
okay.
The exterior stuff. Full scale explosions in and around a building. I mean, how could you not disturb people?
Yeah, and not to mention, you're absolutely right. What am I? CGI in 1988? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, anyways, my fault on that. One of the other things I thought was interesting about the building itself, and the whole idea of shooting it while people were there, is that they had to do all the gunfire stuff at night because the people that were working in the building started complaining. About the gunfire.
The few people there. Fucking guns everywhere, man.
The guns in this movie were modified so the blanks were louder than normal because they said they wanted it to have more of a in-your-face, like, violent feeling. Bruce Willis, apparently, in the scene where he's under the table, when he shoots the guy from under the table, he lost almost entire hearing in his left ear.
Yeah, permanently.
Permanently. He did an interview where he said that he constantly has to tell people to speak into his right ear, and it's from that scene. He blew his eardrum out. And it never came back. So that's pretty fucking crazy.
Which is a good scene too.
It is a good scene.
Maybe worth it. I don't know.
An incompetent henchman, but
he is. Right. He is. I got a question for you, Anders. Just something to go back because I wanted to bring this up. July 15th of 1988. Were you alive or not yet?
So July 15th, 1988. I was 3 days shy of 5 months old.
5 months old. All right.
Wow.
Now, I just wanted to see how eagle your eyes are, Anders. Okay. How much was gas in 1988? Did you notice the scene where Al looks at the Nakatomi Plaza? He's in a gas station and you see the sign. Do you remember?
I don't. I'll say 89 cents.
89 cents. Stu, did you see it? Do you remember?
I don't remember, no.
Give me your over under. What do you think?
I had the same number in my head that he just said. I thought maybe it said 79, but yeah, I was in that same ballpark.
79 cents. It was 77 cents for premium and 74 cents for fucking for regular. Yeah. Isn't that
I can remember when gas was 50 cents.
Well, no shit. You remember?
I can remember that.
You remember when gas was a Stegosaurus, Lloyd?
I remember when the Civic Center roof fell in and collapsed in 1978. Remember that?
I was three. Yeah. Anders was negative 2. Yeah, Anders was negative 10. The original draft of this, when Jeb Stewart wrote it, was the character of John McClane, who, by the way, in the first draft was renamed from Joe Leland to John Ford, but they didn't want it to coincide with the director John Ford, so they came up with McClane.
It's a good name.
It is a good name. It's strong.
Solid.
It's Irish. It's strong.
I like that. Yeah. I like that they came up with the name John Ford, though. That'd be like if I made a movie right now and I was like, my protagonist name will be Martin Scorsese. And then somebody has to come tell me, like, no, guy.
No, you can't use that.
You can't use Steven Spielberg in this, too. So the original written version of John McClane was based on, as you said, like kind of the Commando John Matrix. It was supposed to be this all, no bullshit Superman cop. When D'Souza took over, the idea was we've got to rewrite this so that it could be an everyman. And that's where Bruce Willis comes in.
Totally.
Who at the time was famous for moonlighting. And we'll get into that because we're going to move into the cast right now, Lloyd. Let's talk about the cast.
Round up the usual suspects.
Well, we have Bruce Willis as John McClane, the New York City police detective, going to visit his wife, I guess. Aside from the movie Blind Date and Moonlighting, he was an unknown.
Yeah.
And I got a list of names. Some of these I knew, but there's a big list of names of people turned this role down. You got Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, Richard Gere, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Nick Nolte, Mel Gibson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, Paul Newman, James Caan, and Al Pacino. I
had read too, and I don't know if this was I read it in one spot, but I read that because Frank Sinatra had played him, they kind of offered it to him originally.
He had first rights.
But he was at the time like 80 or he was old. He was in his late 60s, I believe. So it was just more of like one of those, like, I'm going to sign back with my team for one day to retire with them. It was like a symbolic gesture, but I guess they said to him, do you want to do this? And he's like, look at me, babe, I'm 68.
What if he would have said yes, though?
We would have had a whole, like, imagine that if like that was a new thing where it was like geriatric action films, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, Harrison's got another indie movie coming out.
He certainly does. I just before this episode we started recording, I was watching YouTube videos with my wife, and I watched a red carpet interview with Harrison Ford for that new Yellowstone show he's doing, 1923 or whatever, and it was this Entertainment Tonight reporter, and she's asking him questions, and it was just so awkward because there's nobody on earth that makes it more known that he doesn't want to talk to you than Harrison Ford. And it's just, she's asking him questions about 1923, and he's like, yeah, I bet it's gonna be good. Like he's just doing his usual thing, and I'm like, man, I would never, even if I met him, I would be afraid to talk to him because it would just be like, he's gonna be mean to me eventually.
He just seems like a wildly unpleasant man.
Yeah, I love him too, but I think part of it might just be his or want for privacy, but he doesn't. I guess part of it I respect because he doesn't play the game. He also doesn't have to. He's in his late 70s at this point. He doesn't have to do anything anymore. Just make the films. Just go out, make the films, and that's it. All right, Manster. One more thing, real quick. I want to ask all you guys because he's kind of divisive. Anders, are you a fan of Bruce Willis or not? Do you like Bruce Willis?
Yeah, I've never had a problem with Bruce Willis.
I know some people seem to not care for Bruce Willis. Stu?
I mean, Bruce Willis from like 2005 to the present has been terrible. And I mean, we all found out why, but he just started churning out shit movie after shit movie, and he just completely ran his name into the ground. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I just don't think about him. Like, we'll get into this. I haven't seen this movie since my age has had 2 digits in it. So this is the first time I've seen this movie in like 30 years. And I just don't have the big affinity for Bruce Willis that everyone has, and they have it because of this movie. Because like I said, I saw it when I was a little kid, and then I've never seen it since then until today. And I mean, he's all right. I liked him in Sin City.
It's a hot take.
Hot take.
Love Stu's hot takes.
All right, Master.
What else has he been in though? That's like, I mean, besides Die Hard, like what is like Bruce Willis's big thing?
Well, I mean, nothing is bigger than that, but he's been in good things. 12 Monkeys, Pulp Fiction. I know that's a small role, but he's done some good stuff. Yeah, he's done some good stuff. But yeah, he has his handful of crap too. There's a lot of like one-off Bruce Willis action films that you would struggle to remember. Striking Distance, stuff like that. Yeah.
So like I've seen the good ones. I've never seen him in like a shit movie just because it was never popular enough for me to be like, oh, I should see that.
There you go.
It's not even that. It's not even. It's just I remember seeing all the commercials for all these movies, and it's like they all looked the same. And I watched Red for my show, and I was just like, all right, this is just him mailing it in, and. But Sin City, really good in Sin City. I just watched Fifth Element for the first time like this past month, and that's really good. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, because I never cared about Bruce Willis, I never saw Fifth Element until this year. He's, like I said, I don't dislike the guy. It's just he's never a guy that, like, Bruce Willis is in a movie is going to make me go see it.
Yeah, I think the Fifth Element has the unfortunate, maybe I guess aura about it that people think it's a Bruce Willis movie when it's not. It's this big fucking movie that Bruce Willis is the male lead in, you know. But I mean, there's so much more going on there.
Yeah, it's not his.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like Bruce well enough. I mean, you got don't forget Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense. I tend to like him when he's kind of like a cameo or a smaller role. You know, besides Die Hard.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. That. All right, who else we got, Master?
Well, now we have Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, the ruthless, dripping with disdain. I love this guy, leader of the so-called terrorists. Really, he's bank. Part of the rewrite was to make him a bank robber, so they didn't seem so mean for a Christmas movie.
I read that as well, which I thought was funny because the original novel and the story was terrorists, and it was going to be that they actually were terrorists trying to get these people freed and all this stuff. But then I read that they made them thieves to make it lighter hearted. Yet meanwhile, they still murder people left and right in this thing.
Left and right, yeah, super violent, but that's okay. He was a stage actor at the time. This was his first motion picture.
That's crazy.
He actually didn't want to do it because he didn't want to be typecast as a villain. He didn't want his first role to be a villain like that. But he created the archetype, Euro trash villain. And he's so fucking good at it. He died in 2016, unfortunately, he had prostate cancer and pancreatic cancer and succumbed to that, unfortunately. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Sweeney Todd, Galaxy Quest. He was Severus Snape in the Harry Potter movies.
Dogma.
Yeah, Dogma. Dogma was so good when you see this guy.
The first movie I ever saw that, like, I noticed Alan Rickman in something, and I was just like, this guy's amazing. I need to see everything he's in.
Right?
Yeah. And not to mention, like you said, his first movie, and I don't want to quote the age, but he was in his 40s. He wasn't, this is his first film. His first movie, he's in his 40s. And you said it exactly what I was going to say, Lloyd, is he didn't typecast himself. He created a fucking a genre of character.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there had been Euro trash bad guys in movies before, but like if you go to that thought, it's Hans Gruber. It's Hans Gruber all day long,
All day Hans. Next, we have Alexander Godunov as Carl, his second in command. Now, I did a deep dive on this guy, and I want to tell you guys a little bit about him. All right, he is a premier danseur. So he was a male ballet dancer for Russia. Basically, that's like the highest level, great nobility. He's like on the scale of Mikhail Baryshnikov, Vladimir Yaroshenko. Like that's how high level he is. Did date Jacqueline Bisset in the 80s and had an affair with Elizabeth Montgomery. While he was on tour, he defected. So he sought political asylum in 1979. And he stayed in the U.S. and the KGB discovered this. And then his wife, who was also part of that tour, didn't want to stay back. And so she went home, and there's this whole big thing with Russia and keeping planes on the ground and all that shit. And that story was made into a movie called Flight 222, based on her ordeal in the plane and all that kind of stuff. So this one character that nobody knows all that much about, he's got a lot of history, that dude.
He's great. He kind of created the number one henchman guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
And he's also really good. He's in Witness. He's really good in Witness.
Yep.
And the Money Pit. He's hilarious in the Money Pit.
The maestro.
He's the real douchebag. Yeah. This actor is the reason that your mother will watch Die Hard whenever you put it on. Because this is the kind of guy that my mom would secretly be like, oh my God. Like he's so handsome.
That Fabio hair.
Yeah.
Died of hepatitis due to alcoholism.
Oh shit. I didn't know he was dead.
Yeah. Yep. I forgot to write the year, but it's been a while. I want to say it was in the 90s, but I'm not sure. All right, moving on. We have Bonnie Bedelia as Hani Gennaro McLean, his estranged ex-wife. Yeah, she's pretty good. She played Sue Norton in Salem's Lot. Oh, you never saw Salem's Lot, did you, John?
Saw it. The only movie I know her from before Die Hard was an HBO movie when I was a kid. There was a movie called Heart Like a Wheel that was about a real life woman drag race driver. I can't remember the real woman's name, but Bonnie Bedelia played her. And I think I read that Bruce Willis suggested her to McTiernan because of that movie. Yeah.
Yep. Also in Presumed Innocent and Needful Things with Max von Sydow.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. She's kind of hot too. I got to give it to her. I got to give it to her.
She's definitely got that 80s hot look.
She's got that 80s hot mom vibe going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again with the hair.
It's the hair, right?
Certainly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Then we have Reginald Vell Johnson as Al Powell, the awesome LAPD sergeant who's connected with Clayton through the walkie-talkie, radio.
I sent John the meme, and I don't know what his character's name in this movie was because I just kept calling him Carl of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much better would Family Matters have been if they just fucking made it? He was Al Powell, and this was Al Powell's, Al Powell's life. I get it. He said he was only going to have one. He was on his way to having his first kid, and in that show he had 4 or whatever. But you know what? Especially when you're Reginald Vell Johnson, and great actor, and obviously he's given a lot of people a lot of smiles. But when your two known characters are LAP or maybe LA and Chicago cops,
a lot of cop characters.
Yeah,
he even played. Remember those series of shows? I think we talked about it recently. Boston Public.
Oh yeah.
The Practice. He was in both of those, and he played the same cop character in those as well.
Now, Anders, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Do you have the same affinity that Al has for Twinkies? Are you a Twinkie fan?
Oh,
I am not a Twinkie fan.
No,
I'm not a Twinkie person.
You're a Hostess cupcake guy, aren't you?
No, I'd rather get.
Are you a snack cake guy at all?
Generally not. If I'm doing any kind of a snack cake thing, I want the. We're going big. I want the Entenmann's cinnamon raisin roll with the frosting.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
One more question for Anders. Is a snack cake considered a candy?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Yes, it is.
Good answer.
I hate all of you.
Cake is not candy.
Ho-hos are candy.
Poor Stu.
And one more question, Anders. Pop-Tarts. How do you feel?
Pop-Tarts are good.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Do you have
the brown sugar cinnamon, probably.
Okay.
Everybody likes those, man.
Pretty standard, pretty dry, but
my 3, if I go for 3 Pop-Tarts, brown sugar cinnamon, it's not number 1, but that's up there. The chocolate ones with the chocolate, the
chocolate fudge?
Chocolate fudge.
Yeah.
Number one, bar none, are the frosted cherry. Those are the best.
Yeah, those are good.
I know that Stu, obviously, with the Pop-Tart Quest, has had many flavors I've never tried before, but I'm talking if you're going to talk about flavors that have been around for 25 to 30 years, frosted cherry is the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Of the base flavors, not including anything I've done for Pop-Tart Quest, it's nothing beats s'mores, man.
Haven't had that.
Ooh,
my kid likes the s'mores one the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a
All
good
right.
one.
What else we got in this thing?
Moving on. Let's do a couple. Yeah, 3 more. Paul Gleason as Dwayne T. Robinson, the LAPD deputy chief, whose role in this film is 100% unnecessary, in my opinion.
And if you read Roger Ebert's review of this, Roger Ebert gave this a thumbs down based heavily on how much he hated this character. And I had not seen Die Hard in probably 2+ years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Larry.
I don't think you're supposed to like him. So.
Not just not like him, but every time he comes on screen, I just feel like we could be doing anything else but deal with this guy. And I mean, and this is not a bad actor. This is fucking the principal in The Breakfast Club, right? I mean, this guy has chops.
Yeah.
He can be a presence.
Yeah.
Anders, did you feel that way when this guy popped up? Or you just like, oh, not him again?
Only in the way that you're supposed to feel that. I mean, I'll agree with you, Lloyd. The character is not narratively really necessary, but the second he becomes necessary to the movie is just so John can tell him, I'm not the guy who just got butt fucked on national TV.
Yeah, exactly.
That line alone makes him necessary.
Okay. I will agree with that for sure.
Fair.
Yep, that's fair. Devereaux White as Argyle, the John's limousine driver who just sort of hangs out. Jefferson's Little House on the Prairie. Shout out to Larry, head of the class. And he was the young guitar thief in Blues Brothers.
Oh, okay. He was also in earlier this year, the first round of Forgotten February. We did Trespass, and he was Ice-T's younger brother in that. Yeah.
I said I haven't seen this movie since I was single digits year old. One of the things I remember that I was clearly wrong about was I thought he was a much bigger character than he is. I don't know if I was confusing him with someone else, but I was like, boy, I thought the limo driver had more to do in this movie.
No, he's kind of just narratively there to make things happen once in a while.
He's the frame for the whole movie.
Yeah. And also it seems like, if you notice or not, every time they go back to him, he's listening to the same Stevie Wonder song. I think he has a CD on loop, just constantly, like on that little loop icon with the one on it. It's just going forever.
Did you guys ever do that? Will you ever listen to a song like, say, I don't know, 10 times in a row?
Yes.
Yes, me too. I'm a yes for that.
Nope,
if I like something,
probably,
I just over and over.
They probably filmed all of those scenes in like one single 5-minute take.
Yeah.
And then they're cut back. We'll show this part of it. We'll show that part of it.
All right, Devereaux, you're done for the day.
You're done, Devereaux. Yeah, one more. I got to mention this guy, William Atherton, as Richard Thornburg, the unscrupulous TV reporter, the guy that has no dick from Ghostbusters, Real Genius, Desperate Housewives, even that crazy show Numbers.
So he is very much on the same level as the Paul Gleason character,
Absolutely.
Except I like every bit with him.
Yeah.
Because
oh, really?
He's so smarmy. The scene where he's asking his producer to give him the van, and he gets into it with the anchor, and they're looking at each other like with this anger. I was amused by that. And then of course, to get to the end when Holly punches him the fuck out because he's such a scumbag. This guy plays. Let's just go to the top 3. Stu and I did Real Genius earlier this year. He's such a scumbag in that. Ghostbusters, he's the ultimate scumbag.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then here it's like, wow, it's a smaller role, but he manages to jam all that scumbaggery right in there.
Don't forget Biodome.
Bagginess. Oh, Biodome.
I never saw Biodome.
I've never seen.
Let me guess. He's like the bad guy in charge in Biodome. I'm assuming like he's like the. Yeah, of course.
He's just got that face, man.
I know.
He does. All right. As Die Hard opens up, we have our New York cop, 11-year veteran, as we find out, John McClane, flying into LAX. And the setup is that his wife, Holly, has taken a job with the what's the company? It's Nakatomi Plaza. Is it Nakatomi?
I think it's the Nakatomi Corporation.
Okay.
Yep.
So she's taking a job in LA, and we'll find this out all through conjecture and exposition, but I'll tell you now. She kind of left with the kids. He wasn't gonna stop his career in New York. They kind of have that whole thing happen. So she moves out there. It's been several months. He's going out there because she told him to come out and see him for Christmas. And very important to the story, very important to how everybody feels about this movie. It takes place on Christmas Eve. Anders, real quick question right off the bat. I know Lloyd has had this happen in his life, but I want to ask you, Anders, at any point in your life, has anybody fucked you even 1% as much as the stewardess fucks him on the way off the plane? Like, my Lord.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever been that lucky.
Did you guys, am I the only one? Did you notice that?
Yeah. And he fucks almost everyone too.
Yeah.
Remember that? I noticed him staring at people. I never noticed the stewardess staring at him.
Pants.
Yeah.
The stewardess gives it to him right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. And this is, this is younger, thinner, not that he got bigger, but younger, thinner Bruce Willis, still, losing hair, but still has hair, and gets off the plane, and he meets up with Argyle in the airport. And Argyle's his limo driver and tells him, I'm going to bring you to Nakatomi Plaza. Okay. And Nakatomi Plaza is where everything's happening. As we mentioned, it's a Christmas party. It's on the 30th floor, and just about everybody else is not there. So they head over there, and Argyle is like, Stu, if that was your limo driver, would you just say to him, stop asking me questions about my personal life? Or,
I mean, I feel like he tried to, and Argyle just doesn't listen.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he was sitting in
people like to chat.
Why was he sitting in the passenger seat? And the movie draws attention to that because Argyle's like, I didn't expect you to sit there, but there's no reason given for that. Why is that happening?
I did some research, and they did that on purpose because Bruce Willis was not, he's a guy not really in touch with all that stuff, and he went there and just to be more personal, basically.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Important to point out too, we didn't talk about this. Bruce Willis this is very much like Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox. Bruce Willis was shooting Moonlighting all day long.
Yeah.
And then
Like
shooting
10
Die
hours a
Hard
day.
all night long. So much like Michael J. Fox with Family Ties and then going to shoot Back to the Future at night, Bruce Willis is doing like 10, 11 hours on Moonlighting and then doing like 7, 8, 9 hours on Die Hard. His first scene filmed in Die Hard was the scene where he jumps off the building with the hose.
Yeah.
So that's a jump into the fire.
And he really did that too. He jumped. Well, he didn't land, but he did he did land, but he didn't do the whole.
He did the stunt though
against the glass.
He didn't land.
He didn't.
If you go to Los Angeles,
out there,
you can still see Bruce Willis falling.
He's up there. He's just floating.
But he did that. He did a lot of stunts. Even this movie happened after the Twilight Zone. The deaths on the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more awareness of safety and things like that. But Bruce still insisted that he did, some of his own stunts.
He probably felt like he had to prove himself, I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously it worked because, as we talked about his career before, none of it would have been as successful, even with Moonlighting, if this movie did not happen. This movie opened the doors for this guy, to do, a million more movies, not just the action movies, but everything. So, all right. So they're heading to Nakatomi Plaza. Meanwhile, Stu, who else is heading into Nakatomi Plaza at the same time?
Alan Rickman.
Okay,
I didn't know if that was the right answer.
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Okay, yeah, they show up in a courier truck or something, and they shoot the guard. They're talking about a basketball game, and they shoot the guard, and the guy goes, boom, 2 points. And I was like, haha, that's a good one-liner.
Now, Lloyd, I'm going to ask you, because we've been doing this show together a long time, who do I think the guy that Hans Gruber puts at the front desk looks exactly like?
So before you even go there, I was watching this with somebody, and when they were all walking in, I said, look, there's Huey Lewis.
Huey fucking Lewis.
And they believed me for a little while.
This guy could be like Dewey Lewis. And I've seen him. He's been in other 80s films, but I always think of him with Die Hard for two reasons. Number one, he's the front desk guy. And number two, something nobody ever really thinks about. He's the last guy standing with Hans Gruber at the end. He's the only guy left with Hans Gruber when all the shit hits the fan.
Because he's safe down on the ground floor the whole movie.
He is.
He doesn't have to put himself in peril.
And Hans Gruber's whole entourage, minus maybe one or two guys, they're all like, I don't know, at least 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
they look like all these big dudes.
They look like a metal band. Half the guys, they look like a metal band.
Right.
So that's happening while McClane has already gotten up to the top. And what's the first thing he notices, Anders, when he tries to find Holly on the directory? He can't find her. What's the reasoning?
He can't find her because she's not using the name McClane.
How fucking let me just ask you guys, as married guys or not, or Anders, are you married? I don't know the answer.
I'm not married now.
Okay, so just put yourself in the headspace of a guy in a long-term relationship or whatever. How much does that piss you off? Because I got to be honest, I know it might seem a little like barbaric or caveman-y, but man, that would fucking make me so mad for some weird caveman reason.
If you're not divorced or you're not legally separated.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And that's one thing I was actually trying to figure that out for like the first 30, 40 minutes of this movie. What is their actual dynamic? And I don't know if they're legally separated, but they're coastally separated. Like he's not officially staying at her house until she offers it to him. And she says, I have a spare room.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. It's complicated. That's what they call it.
Yeah, because like even the idea of legal separation seems so unreal to me. Like Lloyd, we talked about it. You were gone for a while. You got divorced last year. Were you legally separated at any point?
I just went straight from married to divorced.
Okay, so yeah, it's just Stu. How would you feel? You and Amanda, your lovely wife. Things happen. She goes out there. You go out to see her, and Stuart's fucking gone. And it's just it's Amanda Hug and Kiss or whatever her last name would have been on the directory. How do you feel about that?
It'd be her life. That's fine. Their dynamic's weird. Like everybody said, I can honestly never tell in this movie Anders was saying he can't tell if they were divorced, separated, what were they? Like, I could never tell whether he actually wanted her back or not. Like, I wasn't sure why he was there except for his kids, except like no attention is paid to the kids in this movie. So like the whole movie, I'm just like, I don't know why this guy's here. Because as soon as they get together and she's like, hey, why don't you stay at the house? I would like that. He starts yelling at her, and I'm just like, okay, guy, calm the F down. Is he mad at her? Like, does he want to get back together with her? Everything about that felt weird to me. I didn't understand what he wanted out of anything going on in this movie. I read it more like he was hurt by her decision to leave, and he's just like confused by her saying, hey, come on over, but you got to sleep on a hammock outside, and he's like, fuck.
I got an ottoman that I could like put right next to the couch, and maybe you can fit on that.
I think actually Argyle kind of put it well, like when he's asking him those questions, and he's suddenly like, oh, so this is the trip out here after you figured she would fail out here and just come crawling back, but it turns out she's not. She's actually killing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he probably said it the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
And I read somewhere in my research in the movie, and I can't recall where, I didn't even write it down, but something that he was mistakenly invited. Is that a thing?
He says that at one point, I think to maybe Al. He says, I got mistakenly invited, but I think he was just trying to be like funny about the fact, because
it must have been a line I just totally missed.
Well, that was the thing, was I'm not sure, like when he gets picked up by the limo, I think his expectation was he was going to go to her house maybe, or to a hotel. The limo was sent there, I think, by Nakatomi,
the boss.
What's his Takagi?
He specifically says at some point, he's like, did you enjoy your trip in, or something like that. He basically says like, the limo, I did that.
Yeah. So I think Takagi was trying to maybe do something, nice for them. So I don't think he was supposed to be there at all.
Okay.
You know what? You talked about the last name thing. I actually looked at it from a different perspective. Like, should he be mad that she went out there and changed her name? I'd just be like, she got a really good career opportunity, and she's like, I'm taking the kids. We're going to go to the West Coast and make $1 billion. And he's like, no, I got to solve a crime. Shut the fuck up, dude. Go to Los Angeles.
How many... John, how many years did you say he was on the force?
Well, he says 11 on the plane.
On the plane. Yep.
Yeah, New York City crime will
just
be fine.
Get up and leave if you're.
No, it isn't. If your wife's going to go make $1 billion and you're a cop,
she's not making $1 billion.
You can be a cop. She's like the number 2 person in this company.
She's a step above Ellis, that's for sure.
You can be a cop anywhere. Go be a cop in Santa Clara. I don't care.
Over 10 years, he could probably still collect like a tiny bit of his pension from NYPD.
He was in the wrong. He was in the wrong.
All right. Well, look, listen, everybody out there, when you come to the pint, all those other shows would at this point be talking about like the gun battles. We're talking about their marriage dynamics. So know what?
Yeah. Right.
Dig into it. Dig into it with the pint. In the original,
tell us in the comments who was right, John or Holly. Team Holly. Hashtag.
Team Holly. Hashtag Holly. In the original,
obviously she was right for sure.
Well,
I mean, 80s Bonnie Bedelia can be my sugar mama any day.
Oh yeah,
I'll take it. In the original script, the Jeb Stewart script, this was supposed to be a 3-day thing. The whole McClane in the building with the terrorists, and then D'Souza was like, "No, we got to make this Christmas Eve, one night and done." Thankfully, because man, that would have been that would have pushed any pings of reality a little bit too far for 3 fucking days. So they get into this argument. All this is happening. We meet Ellis. Ellis is played by Hart Bochner, who, by the way, I just always find this crazy. Directed the comedy PCU, which is a movie I love. If you've never seen PCU before, Hart Bochner, who plays Ellis, directed that. He also directed Urban Legend, the horror movie from the early 2000s. So he's done more as a director. But boy, oh boy, this movie does something really right with some of these characters, like we said. So Rickman plays Hans Gruber, creates an archetype. The ballet dancer, Alexander Goodenough, he is like this like number 1 goon. And nobody plays a shitbag kind of cowardly weasel fuck better than Hart Bochner.
The whole Bubby thing when he said Hans Bubby, that was ad-libbed.
Yep.
And Alan Rickman's reaction to that was real. It's like, Okay.
My favorite character death ever of a character drinking a glass of Coca-Cola before he gets shot.
Oh yeah.
It's Ellis for sure. It's Ellis for sure.
I can't believe I forgot to put him in my cast list.
He's all Anders. Do you agree? He's all hair and beard. He's just it's almost like there's just
he's all
enough,
beard. Yeah,
it's like he's like a raccoon. There's just enough spot for eye, and then he's got like that kind of Beatles hair, and then his beard. He's one of those guys that he doesn't trim his beard, so his the beard hair goes up to his under his eyeballs. He just looks
like the Keanu Reeves beard. He's got the same thing.
He just looks like a fucking raccoon,
right straight up over his cheek.
He can afford to give Holly a Rolex.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Gives her more than that, I bet.
And honestly, look,
He wishes. This is actually something I noticed. When I watched it this time, I think I really noticed this. They're all in the middle of getting taken hostage, machine guns firing up in the air. Everyone's kind of panicking. Ellis is like muttering to himself, like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god."
Yeah.
Holly's already rolling her eyes at him.
Yeah.
She like, side glances at him and just rolls her eyes.
Yeah.
Like, get it together, man. Have some dignity.
Yeah, you're not a man.
This is a guy that as soon as McClane meets him, he's at a desk in an office doing coke, and then as the cards start to fall, he's just doing coke in the middle of the fucking room with everybody there. My lord,
it's so funny too because it's like you look at this now and it's 35 years later, and I don't know if that was the intention or not, but you see all these scenes of this highfalutin businessman just doing coke at this office party. And I was like, this movie might as well have just had a big neon billboard that was like, this is the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also those parts of the movie help inform how we feel about the 80s. You know what I mean? Like it's just all circular. So McClane is kind of in Holly's office, kind of resting. He is in a vulnerable state. He's half undressed. So he's got his pants on, no shoes. He's down to a white tank top.
He's doing fists with his toes.
Fists with his toes.
He is.
I love that.
He's fisting his toes.
Right? So he's feeling better after getting off the plane. And as he's doing this, gunfire erupts and Hans and all of his boys take over the 30th floor. He has his gun on him. He gets away and he starts running up above. So he starts going up above. And as he goes up above, we start to see that he's seeing activity on the floors above. He sees guys. Al Leong, by the way, shout out to Al Leong. On Patreon, we did our Lethal Weapon episode. He's the guy in Lethal Weapon, the Asian guy that tortures Mel Gibson. He's in every other 80s action movie. He's in this as well. He's one of the henchmen. We see him pushing a cart. And what does he see on the cart? Rocket-propelled grenades. So he knows that these guys are hardcore. So we think this is a terrorist thing. They're saying that we want to have these different people freed, and they're trying to hide under that. What is their underlying goal here?
Their underlying goal is to get $600 million in negotiable bear bonds out of a safe that has seven layers of protection, although 5 of them all seem to be the same thing sandwiched in the middle.
Yeah. Anders, are you enough of an adult, because I am not, to understand what negotiable bearer bonds are?
I don't know why they would be negotiable. My understanding of bearer bonds comes from... God, I completely forget what this line is from. But I remember some movie, some TV show, they made some comment about bearer bonds, and the guy thought he was being all smart, being like, oh no, they're going to deliver us bearer bonds. And his partner was like, are you fucking retarded? You know why they call them those? Because whoever bears them has the money. So the person like bringing it to them basically just fucked off and stole the money.
Okay, well, that's more than I know. Lloyd, do you know what a bearer bond was before this?
No idea if that's true.
No, other than it has to do with money and certificates and whatnot. Apparently, they're untraceable bearer bonds. Maybe that's a way of looking at it.
They are locked in this incredible safe, which has 7 layers of protection, 6 of which they can get through with their kind of heavy-duty drilling laser machine. Yeah. But the 7th is an electromagnetic seal that even their computer ace cannot get through. Now, this is going to be kind of embarrassing to admit, but we've talked about this on shows before. We talked about it on the QT episode, Lloyd, where I didn't realize the whole bit of Marcellus Wallace going to get the donuts, even though I've seen Pulp Fiction a trillion times.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's just part of my brain shutting off every time I watch Die Hard, but I don't think until this viewing, again, embarrassing, did I realize that Hans is using the feds to shut the power off to the building, and that's his whole goal.
Yeah, that's his goal.
Is that.
Yeah, to unlock the seventh seal.
How did you not realize that?
I think I just never understood what the whole. I guess I understood that when the building power was shut down, that's what happened. But I never got the idea that he had this sequence of events that was going to make that happen. I admit it. I am a free man right now for being able to say that.
I'll tell you what, man. I listened to your Pulp Fiction episode, and whenever you were like, I had no idea that Marcellus Wallace was there with John Travolta, and I was just like, what? Did you sleep through this movie?
I like to think I'm a fairly smart individual, but I just think sometimes
you're smart, but I'm wondering if you're just having mini strokes during scenes in movies.
Sometimes you just don't make a connection. That's all.
I guess it's just one of those things where I guess it's just one of those things where I just never really put so much thought into the fact that that was Hans's overall plan, was to get the feds to shut the power down. I know I'm going to hear about this. I'm certainly going to hear about this, but you know what? I think that makes for a better episode. Although
I love that so much.
I will be honest. Maybe he gives me shit about bearer bonds, so fuck yourself, because none of the four of us knew what the fuck they were.
Yeah, none of us understand bearer bonds.
That's like It's like if I watched The Sixth Sense with you guys. We come on, we talk about The Sixth Sense, we get to the ending of the movie, and we get to the part where Bruce Willis is, or we realize Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. And me just going like, guys, I just watched this movie. I had no idea there were dead people in this movie.
Yeah, I think that's a little different.
That's going a little further.
One of them is like the major twist to a movie and kind of the driving plot. The other one is like something that happens in it that maybe I knew 10 years ago, but as I watched it, I went, oh, because he even says that. There's multiple times where he says that he's kind of like trying to set things up a certain way. And I guess I just never really fucking.
You know what? Sometimes you just tune out during like technical parts of it.
Yeah,
I just totally watched Revenge of the Sith for the first time, and I think for the first time I put together Darth Vader is their dad.
Yes, yeah. I just figured out that Palpatine is Sidious too. Yeah. Anders, have you ever had a movie or a show that there's something that's just kind of obvious, and upon your 10th rewatch you go, oh man, you don't even have to give me an example, but just make me feel better and go,
no,
it's happened.
I know that it's definitely happened. I cannot think of an example off the top of my head, but I know it's happened. Now, I don't know about you, John. I might be willing to forgive you for this because if you're anything like me, like this may have been the first time I sat down and actually watched this movie beginning to end in forever. Like this is one of the ultimate, like it's on TBS TNT. Like you flip it on, you might watch 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there. Okay, so you always, what's going on, but some of those smaller pieces that are just like small lines throughout the movie, you're probably going to miss.
No, I can't hide behind that. I watch this normally if I watch it on DVD. My last
you know why?
In a movie theater.
Then shame on
you. Because you're paying attention so much because we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
That you just made a connection that you just didn't make before.
You guys are good friends.
Totally understandable.
Except for Stu, you guys made me feel good.
I'm 100% sure I have done the same thing. I can't think of any examples. It's just so funny. Like, because during this movie, I was just like, why does he want the cops to come? Why does he want the cops to be there? And then they cut the power, and I literally went like, oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about some of the action beats in this thing, because that's what this is. This is a big time 80s action movie. We get a lot of Bruce Willis and coming into contact with some of the different henchmen. This is the first time I ever really noticed how much Carl looks like Jeffrey Dahmer.
I noticed the same thing.
Right? Like when Carl shows up, I'm like, oh fuck, it's Evan Peters as
yes. Totally. I
was blown away by that. Now, Anders, when I asked Anders a week or so ago to do this episode with us, he said, this is perfect timing. You're going to an ugly sweater party, and what was the sweater that you created?
I did. I went to Walmart. I spent $9 on a gray sweater, and I took a red Sharpie, and I did the now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. And I was so disappointed. There were so many people who had no idea what it was.
Oh,
really?
And it just made me like fear for the younger generations.
I haven't seen this movie.
Did somebody at least
but
know?
I knew that.
Yes, definitely.
What was that said against you?
Oh, I said like I haven't seen this movie since I was like 8 years old, and I would have gotten that reference before today.
Yeah.
Good scene, good fight scene, and he kills him brutally, man. When they fall down the stairs, and he just breaks the shit out of his
Did
neck.
you hear? For the first time, I listened and I heard a crunch.
Oh, you hear it? Yeah.
You hear the neck crunch.
You hear it, and then I love at the end when he's fighting the Goodenough character, and he's like, I broke your fucking brother's neck real good. Yeah, that was good. That was a good line. Gruber takes Takagi into his office, and basically he wants him to give him the codes to open the electromagnetic seal. And Takagi's like, this shit, I ain't got it, bro. You got to call Tokyo in the morning, and they're going to tell you to go fuck off too.
Dude,
So,
Takagi is a fucking baller in this movie.
Oh yeah.
He knew. He's like, yeah, you're just going to kill me. It's fine. He's not scared. He's not like, look, I'll try to find a way to get it. He's just like, yeah, fuck you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. But at the same time, it doesn't work because Gruber's just like, okay. And just fucking pops his head right off.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, he knew that was going to happen. He knew
that was a
have the
good
password.
splatter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he fucking rained
awesome
fucking brains
splatter.
across the door.
When John turns the other way, he does some sort of thing that alerts them to his presence.
He bumps his head on the bottom of the table, I think. Yeah, which of course has to happen. They start chasing him down. So, Anders, is there anything particular in this film, action-wise or action scene-wise, as we go through this, that really fucking floats your boat? Like, that you're like, oh, I love that fucking scene.
It all kind of blends together. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the action in this movie blends together. I love the rooftop when he's actually up on the rooftop. Like, there's like, that's one of the first times I think that there's actually like multiple of the robbers up there.
Right.
And he just starts mowing them down one by one.
Yeah, when he's doing the whole like running through the tunnels and everything, like that whole scene where he's
going then he goes down the elevator. He puts the machine gun like in the jams it in the thing, so he can kind of rappel down in the elevator. Then eventually he steps over the glass, and that's part of the point that I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, the glass is probably one of the most famous bits in the whole movie.
I want to talk about that real fast because that's one of my notes. Like, I knew in this movie he stepped on glass. Like, that's just one of those things I know, like, everything that happens in this movie. Just, it's so memeable and it's so part of the cultural zeitgeist. You just know everything that happens. So I'm watching it and I like how they get his shoes off. It's very cute how the guy tells him, like, oh, you make fists with your toes. You feel better after being on an airplane. And he's in the building and he does that right whenever the terrorists come in or the bank robbers. I really like that. But more than that, I like that it takes 90 minutes to pay off that he doesn't have shoes on. You just forget that he's running around without shoes this entire movie. And then an hour and 40 minutes into the movie is the glass scene. And I was like, oh shit, that was such a good payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the one chance he had to grab some shoes, poor, Tony had to have feet smaller than his grandmother or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah. And I got to be honest too. The whole glass scene is brutal. Hans Gruber, a little bit earlier on from that scene, he's doing something. You don't know what he's doing. He's checking on something in the building, and he runs into McClane, and then he goes into the goofiest American accent ever because he doesn't want to be given it up that he's Hans Gruber or one of these members of this group. So they have this conversation, and he notices immediately that his shoes are off. So it pays off when they're up on the floor. And I love the scene when he's in German telling the Goodenough character to shoot the glass, and he doesn't understand him or hear him. And he's just like, shoot the glass. But what I was going to say was I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced this, but when I was a kid, me and my friends would be outside playing or whatever, and we spent a lot of time barefoot outside. Have you ever gotten a piece of bottle glass in your foot? I have. Yeah. That is fucking excruciating. And that scene where he's pulling all the glass out of his feet is nightmare inducing to me because as a kid,
at least he had big pieces.
Yeah.
I've had tiny little, like you might break a glass or something and you're walking around your kitchen barefoot. And then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, what's in my toe?
Yeah.
And the tiniest little shard, you can't even get that shit out. And, you just got to wait for it. But oh my God, pulling that out. Blood, it's very cringeworthy.
Yeah,
watching him do that and just seeing him running over all that glass. By the way, I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't use tempered glass back then, or obviously it's just for the movie. But a lot of that stuff was plate glass, and Didn't break the way that you would think glass would break.
It's one of my favorite bits of watching like 70s.
I hate being so technical, but
no. Well, it's like if you watch a 70s movie and like someone smashes a window out in a car, it just like someone could fart and it will explode.
Yeah,
you know, like because it's not tempered glass, right? Yeah, like very much like Friday the 13th Part 3.
When the old
smashes,
Volkswagen Bug, he just punches through the windshield, and it's like, all right, I don't think that would work now.
He punches through the windshield, all these sharp shards. Like, that's not how it works. But it did apparently in 1983 or whatever year that bug was. Manster, what do you think of the dynamic? Because it's an important part of this movie between John McClane and the cop on the ground, Al Powell.
Oh, I love this buddy cop from a distance aspect of it. It's so good. You know, and he's in there. So Al Powell's first, he's in like a convenience store and he's getting fucking Twinkies and shit for his pregnant wife, and he has a little banter with the convenience store owner. Yeah, then he gets called over there. It's so good. I love the buddiness of it all, and it like lasts throughout the whole movie, and then there's a payoff to that as well, and it's very satisfactory. It's very rewarding when they finally come together.
Yeah,
great part of the movie.
Stu, I want to ask you: do you think that there's any supervisor on Earth that would, like, as the Paul Gleason character does, would deal with Al's back talk as much as he does? Like, he's a black and white, right? Like, he's just a patrol officer, but he's just constantly telling the chief to, like, now you did it now. It's like, whoa, that's your boss.
Yeah.
Like, you got a kid on the way, bro.
I mean, probably only to the point where literally the Paul Gleason character is wrong about every single decision he makes and is proven wrong within 5 minutes. So how mad can you be at the guy who's just pointing out that you're stupid and you're immediately proven stupid? Yeah.
And then he gets off the air with John McClane too. Like John McClane gives him a little zinger, and he's like, fuck this. you guys take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So as we're going through this, McClane's just taking out guys left and right, but he's getting to a point where he's kind of, he's hurt now. The feet are all fucked up. Gruber sends the Goodenough character. What is his name? The character's name, Lloyd, the Fabio guy. Carl. No, Carl's his brother.
The other guy. I don't remember.
All right. Alexander Goodenough's character. He's got a murder boner because he knows that McClane killed his brother.
I thought that was Carl.
Yeah, no, that is Carl. I thought you were talking about a different guy. That's Carl.
Who's the brother?
I forget the brother's name.
Oh, Tony.
It's a weird name.
Tony. Fuck.
Yeah.
German Tony.
German Tony. Yeah. Oh, I love German Tony. He's a great guy. So
yeah, you were like the Goodenough character, Carl. No, not him. I was like, oh shit, I had that actor wrong the whole time.
No, I thought the brother was Carl. Fuck.
No, the brother was Tony. Yeah,
guys, I just watched Die Hard and put together that.
Wait a minute, they were brothers.
Carl.
Tony's not Italian.
Oh my god. Do you know that I just put this together, guys, that the tank top that he wears throughout the whole thing, it's not two different ones, like a white and a black one. It's like the 14. Same one getting dirtier.
Getting dirtier and dirtier.
Yeah.
I read somewhere he had 14 versions of that tank top.
Yeah.
Now, John, I have to know, is this the first time you noticed that?
That was me being a dickhead. I should never have said. I'm gonna I'm going to edit that out and strategically edit all of our conversation aroring that out.
Right. You wish you could, but that's why people love us so much.
To make myself sound smarter. Yeah, I apologize, everybody. I really I didn't get that. I want to throw this out there, by the way. In, I think it was 2017, this movie was preserved by the National Film Registry and the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
We've talked about a few movies that have had that.
There's been a couple. All right, so he's flapping about. He's running about the building. He discovers what Hans was looking at earlier. Anders, what has Hans have going on for the roof of the building?
And he's got it all wired with explosives. He thought he had taken out all the explosives already, but he finds out that there's a ton that's just set to completely blow the roof. At this point, the LAPD have said that they're sending transport helicopters to come and pick up the hostages.
And Hans's whole
With your standard dickhead FBI agents.
two of them, yeah, Robert Davi and
Johnson
also-
and Johnson.
Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson
yeah.
and Johnson, yeah, Robert
Not
Davi
related.
from the Goonies and other films, and his partner Grand Bush, who is in Lethal Weapon 2 and a bunch of other 80s movies.
I love whenever the one guy's like, boy, it reminds you of Vietnam, doesn't it? And the other guy's like,
It's like,
I'm young for
I was
that.
born, dickhead.
No, he says I was in middle
A
school.
junior high.
Yeah,
I was in
yeah,
junior high. That's
Yeah,
it.
two more kind of tertiary characters that I don't know if they really add up to a whole lot. Anders, do you feel like, do you get a lot out of these guys?
No, I don't get too much out of them. The biggest thing I remember from them is that obviously they're there to shut down the power, but the police captain could have taken care of that.
Yeah,
And
when
then
you
just
said
don't
Go
feel
ahead.
bad. And then you just don't feel bad when their helicopter blows up because they were like, 20-25% of the hostages will lose. That's fine.
yeah, whenever you said the Patrick Gleason character was irrelevant, it's because of these guys. Like you need these guys or you need the captain character, but you don't need both.
Yeah.
On this watch, something else that kind of like really hit me hard, not as obvious, but do you guys notice as you were watching this how little we seem to go back to John McClane? We leave John McClane for long stretches of time to go to Gruber, to go to the cops outside. Like, I don't know. To me, I think I noticed it more this time than ever. Stu, did you feel that way?
I didn't, but I see what you're saying. Like, this isn't a movie where you can say, like, oh, Bruce Willis carries this movie. He's in almost every scene. Like, shit, no, he's not. There are a lot of scenes that he's not in, but it's not something I, like, consciously thought of while I was watching it.
Lethal Weapon, which came out a year before and also has kind of like that whole is it a Christmas movie action classic thing. Danny Glover and Mel Gibson carry that movie. Like, yes, there's stuff that they are not in, but it seems like it goes back to them a lot more. Manser, did you notice that? I felt like I noticed that. I felt like
I guess I haven't really noticed that, but the scenes that stick out in my mind, are the scenes of Bruce Willis stick out in my mind. But I never noticed that it was interspersed. But I think everybody sort of carries the movie equally. Not everybody, but the major stars. But every time you see Willis, it's like a memorable scene. Like either he's falling down the elevator shaft and grabbing onto the duct, or he's crawling through the fan, or he's seeing that naked the poster of the naked lady, or like every time he goes by, and then the next time he kisses it, with his hand, or he's going through the window, he's going over the edge with the fire hose. So everything's so memorable. I guess it's hard to remember that it wasn't, they're interspersed.
I guess if you'd never seen
it's
Die
a good
Hard
movie,
before,
so it's written well, and I think that's why it works.
Yeah, I remember when I pulled this movie up to watch, it was the first time I noticed, it's 2 hours, 12 minutes long, and I was shocked by that.
Long.
I was like, I thought this movie was like 95 minutes tops.
Yeah, whenever I pulled it up and
feels
saw
like
the
95
time,
minutes.
it was like, I never would have thought Die Hard was this long.
yeah.
Same here.
And I'm not even complaining. I just think I wonder if that was partially a studio decision, because Master, did you read the whole thing about how like initially they didn't even put his face on the poster? Because, like it was just the building. Like what the fuck is this?
Because he didn't go over well with the audience,
right? And they were like, oh well, he's not going to sell this. Yep. I almost wonder if they put all these other characters in it to kind of make it more ensemble-y. I think so. Like Hans Gruber could have carried 50% of this movie, but you can't spend 50% of your time with the bad guy, because then you might start.
Plus, he's an unknown, so
right. But then you get the Thornburg character, you get the Gleason, cop character, you get Al Powell, you get the fucking feds. All of a sudden, you're going to the wife, you're going to Ellis. It just seems like there's a lot going on here.
I think without D'Souza, this movie would not have been the hit that it is.
Yeah, probably not.
The way he rewrote it and the way he approached it was different from the original, script. Yeah, and I totally improved the movie.
Yeah.
All right, let's kind of head towards the end here. So the safe has been cracked. The feds have shut the power off. By the way, again, just weird, random. Rick Dukeman is the guy who shuts the power off. The guy in the sewer. He's one of the main characters in The Burbs. Yeah, like which we watched last year, and he's also a couple years later, Bruce Willis made The Last Boy Scout, and there's a scene where the car comes flying out off the mountain and lands in a guy's pool, and that's Rick Dukeman as well. So I just thought it was weird because he was a stand-up comic kind of a bit part actor, but he's the guy who shuts the power off. So they shut the power off and they get into the actual into the safe. They start pulling the bearer bonds. And at this point, we get the big Carl, by the way, not Carl. Oh, what are you pointing? You got it's on right behind you.
Shoot the glass.
Shoot the glass. You're watching right behind you. So Carl goes up and he finds McClane. They have this big fight, and this is like Indiana Jones level punch noise. Anders, right? Am I right? Like they're just gok, bok, bok. How does he kill him, Anders? What does he do to him?
Carl, I'm not gonna lie, I forget. No, he hangs Carl. That's right. He hangs Carl.
He hangs him
because he's still there. Because he's still there when the people are evacuating the building. Carl, you see Carl's feet are still hanging there.
Yeah, and he lives. By the way, spoiler alert: horror movie scene. Yeah. He lives.
He wraps the chain around his neck like 2 or 3 times, and then just like shoots him down there. You for sure think this guy's
Al
dead.
Can get over his fear of firing his gun.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay, because you guys said like that's how Carl dies, is he gets hung, and I was like, okay, well then who's the guy that he killed at the end? Because then I was mixing people up again.
No, that died with quotation.
Okay.
Died for our sake, so we feel like okay to move on.
He died for our sins.
Carl,
it's that ballet training.
He does sort of have that Jesus look. So.
He does. So McClane gets to the top of the roof. The attack helicopters are coming. And he basically tells all the people on the roof, get back inside.
By the way,
they're running inside.
By the way, until this moment, I never realized that the roof was going to blow.
Yeah, don't be
just hit me. It just hit me.
I'm going to pay for this one for a while. So he tells everybody to evacuate back down, but he's not going to make it. The bombs are about to go off, so he ends up wrapping a giant fire hose around himself, jumping off of the side of the building, kind of swinging and shooting his gun into the glass until he gets in the building. Gets in the building, goes to the 30th floor, and it's just fucking chaos on the 30th floor. Hans is left, Huey Lewis is left, and Hans has Holly held hostage because through plot machinations, he figures out that she's his wife, which he didn't know for the longest time.
Right.
Where does the tape and the handgun come into play here, Manster?
All right, I'm trying to,
because McClane knows he can't. He's not walking with that submachine gun. He's got Holly. He's got to figure something out, right?
I'm fucking drawing a blank.
All right, Stu. What happens? He ends up and he looks over and sees the tape, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what was going to come of that, and then by the time they revealed it, I'd already forgotten he looked at the tape. But he has a handgun taped to his back, so while he has his hands behind his head, he can just like pull the gun out.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. I totally missed what you were saying.
Sure, Manster. Sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Specifically, like Happy Holidays tape.
Yeah,
Christmas tape.
It is Christmas tape. So he approaches Gruber, and Gruber is like, they're getting all of their bearer bonds together. They're negotiable and non-transferable. In the basement, by the way, Argyle finally springs into action. They're going to get away in an ambulance is how they're going to do it. Argyle crashes the limo into the ambulance and punches the computer expert out. So lays him out with one punch.
That computer expert guy, he was good. He was funny.
Good. Yeah,
was good.
Yeah,
and he just died.
I liked all the scenes with him.
He just died in real life.
Oh no,
he was
the quarterback is toast.
I don't remember his last name. Ben was his first name, and he was a regular on Matlock for many years, and also known for Die Hard. Clarence Gilman or Gilead, and he passed away like a month ago in real life. So back up to the 30th floor. Essentially, Gruber's like, you got to let me go. I'm going to kill your wife. And just as things seem like they're about to fucking not go Bruce Willis's way, McClane reaches behind him, pulls the gun off of his back, tells Holly, and Holly fucking gives fucking Gruber a shot to the solar plexus, pivots out of the way, and McClane pops Huey Lewis. No more news, by the way. Straight in the fucking head, and then he goes and he gives a pop off to Gruber. Gruber hits the window and starts to fall out, but he grabs Holly, and now he's hanging on to her.
Is he holding on to her by the wristwatch?
By the watch.
Yeah,
by the watch. So he's holding on to her by the watch. He's hanging off the 30th floor. And as he's holding on, McClane is fucking around with the watch band. This is a great behind the scenes moment. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they actually dropped Alan Rickman something like, I think like maybe 3 stories or 2 stories into a bag.
Yep.
They told him that we're going to count to 3 and drop you. They let him go at 1. His actual reaction in the movie is real reaction of like, holy fuck, I'm falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as they say, I know it's been said a million times before, and it's kind of very meme worthy, but Christmas does not start until Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi Plaza. So yeah, fucking.
Jeez, I hope that wasn't
a hostage.
A hostage, yeah.
the only good Paul Gleason line in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Jeez, I hope that wasn't a hostage.
The whole wristwatch thing. Was there is it like Chekhov's gun? Was there ever a scene with a wristwatch before that? Because I'm trying to remember.
Way back in the beginning, when John first is in Holly's office and meets Ellis. Ellis is like, Holly, show him the watch. The Rolex.
I didn't even realize that.
Oh, okay.
That scene has a couple of checkoffs because like right before that is I think Holly's on the phone and she's got the pictures of her kids behind her, but she puts down the one that John's in.
Right.
So Hans doesn't see it until like much later when he's like, "Oh, what's this?" Oh, and that's how he puts it together that they're married.
All right, Anders, take us to
with the wristwatch.
Take us to everything that happens from this time that John gets down. Give us everything that's going on here. Finish us off.
John comes down. He meets up with Al for the first time. They're having this like great buddy moment. We finally meet. Introduces him to Holly. Holly goes back to using McClane as her last name.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dwayne, the asshole police chief, is coming up and starts trying to read the riot act to McClane. You got to answer for all this property damage and all this shit. Like, you're not even... Da-da-da. But that's when Carl is apparently still alive and on the ground, comes up. Everybody has to duck. And Al, who we got that nice little monologue about how he's been like scared to fire his gun after he killed a kid.
Right.
Most people would.
That plays different now.
Yeah, that plays much different now.
The cop killed an innocent kid and shot him. And in 2022, I was watching that scene and I was like, I don't feel sympathy for this character anymore.
I really don't. And then Al kills Carl, which also apparently makes Dwayne forget all about the property damage and everything because he just never has another line. Argyle comes out with the limo, and we get a nice little scene of husband and wife reunited, riding off into the sunset on Christmas Eve as Let It Snow plays over the credits.
Perfect.
Thornburg, who has done some terrible things and exploited the children of the McClanes for TV ratings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he does.
Which we didn't talk about that, but which Holly saw while she was still in the building, fucking knocks him right the fuck out. And he has a great line too with did you get that to the cameraman?
So I've got a couple of little notes that I found for this movie. Pretty interesting stuff. So the scene where Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman meet, where you did you're such a good do that again.
Oh no. Are you one of them? Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first meeting of the two. That was the first day of shooting. That was the first meeting between Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman in the shooting of the movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And also in that scene, when Rickman jumps down, he actually injured himself.
I did read that. Yeah.
So he hurt his knee in that scene. In the scene where McClane falls, when he's lowering himself down with the machine gun and he's holding on to the strap and then he jumps over to the duct vent. The stunt man who did that actually missed the duct that he was supposed to jump into, and he fell further down. But they cut it with like the scene of Bruce Willis. But that's pretty scary if you miss landing on the thing you're supposed to. And I'm watching them like, how the fuck do you get from hanging from a duct to into the duct? That's fucking hard. Yeah, and that was it. And that scene that I alluded to before, the first scene of where Bruce Willis jumped the fire hose on him.
Yes.
And then the explosion goes, right? That actually blew him to the very far edge of the balloon thing that he was supposed to land on. You know, when you jump down and you land on that big puffy thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the crew actually thought that he died. They thought that Bruce Willis died shooting that scene because the way he landed. So I thought that was pretty funny as well.
Well, I guess there ain't gonna be no Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
No, yeah, right. Not with that.
Manster, let's talk about the box office for what would have been circa Anders' 5-month birthday.
This country, you gotta make the money first.
So box office, I'm going to go with the budget first. So budget for this movie was, I saw 25 to 35, and then I saw another 28 million. So I'm going to go with $28 million budget. All right.
Pretty good.
Pretty good for that time. Opening weekend, $601,000.
Ooh.
Right. Pretty low,
Wow.
right?
Wow,
Right.
yeah.
Pretty low. Domestically, 83 million. Okay. I also read, I did a lot of research on this. It said worldwide 141 million, but I saw a lot of numbers for all the other countries and it does not add up to 141. So I don't know how accurate that 141 is, but I'm going to go with 83 million worldwide. So that weekend, July 15th weekend, what was that, 1988? 1988. Die Hard that weekend at such a low thing of 600,000 came in 16th.
Jesus Christ.
Even after coming in 16th, still made it. Other movies
and 4 sequels. I mean,
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right? You would never expect that. Other movies in the number, the first week that year, number 18 was Killing Affair. Number 17, A Fish Called Wanda, which we all love, I think.
Love that movie.
Bambi re-release, number 4. Who cares? The Deadpool was number 2 that week.
That's a
The
shit
Deadpool.
movie, man.
I know. Somehow that beat Die Hard.
Yeah, that's crazy because that movie sucks. That's the last Dirty Harry movie. And during the 20, I mean, during 20 in COVID, I had never seen it. I watched it on Tubi. And I was like, it's one of those movies where I was like, I'm going to watch this through the end, but fuck.
I'm going to hate watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to hate watch the rest of this.
Yeah, number 1 that weekend was Coming to America. In its
all right.
third week. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
I never saw the Coming to America 2.
Me neither.
It was
I
fun.
heard it was so bad. I heard nothing good about that.
It was fine.
You just
Really?
heard him say it's fine. Anders says it's fine.
I don't believe it. All right. For the year, Beetlejuice was number 10. Cocktail, number 9. Naked Gun, From the Files of the Police Squad. Number 1 comedy movie of the 80s for sure.
100%.
Number 8. Number 7 that year, Die Hard, 83 million.
That's a comeback story right there.
After number 16 for the weekend, yeah. Number 6, Crocodile Dundee Part 2. Number 5, Twins. Number 4, Big. Number 3, Coming to America. Number 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And number 1, I'm going to give it to you, John. Can you think? 1988 number 1 movie. And I'll give you a hint if you don't get it right away.
All right, give me a second. 88. Well, I'm surprised it's not Who Framed Roger Rabbit, to be honest with you. That was fucking huge.
Number 2.
Beaches?
No. I'll give you one of the 2 main actors.
All right.
Tom Cruise.
Oh, Rain Man.
Yeah, Rain Man, number 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy that like a kind of like a comedy drama like that would be number 1 for the year.
Yeah. I mean,
know?
I know Tom Cruise was huge, and I mean, he's still huge, but I would not have suspected Rain Man was the number 1 movie for any year.
No, me neither. I'm surprised by that.
So, yeah, that's it for box office.
So,
it's a comeback story from such a horrible beginning to...
You say that, but I'm starting to wonder, like, was it like a limited release its first week, maybe?
I don't know. Maybe it was limited. I don't know. But it actually, the first release was like a few days before that, right?
Yeah.
I read that, John.
Well, I think kind of partially what I read was that it was more of a word of mouth thing that it kind of came around. Because again, remember, when we're all surprised by it, but think about it. In 1988, an action film starring Bruce Willis comes out. Are you running to see it? Probably not.
Right. He's unknown.
But then you hear people say, "Hey, that was really good." Then they go see it. And then I saw this in the theaters. My dad took me to see this. I remember seeing it. I remember loving it from the time I saw it in the theaters. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guarantee, if we ever do or just look up the numbers for Die Hard 2, that was number 1 of its weekend. because at that point everybody
for
realized
sure.
it. Like 2 years
Yeah.
later, everybody realized it.
Yeah. So how did you guys like the music in this movie?
Not particularly.
Yeah,
Really?
Christmas music I liked. The Christmas
There's a lot of Christmas music in it.
But one of my notes is like, boy, the score happening behind, like, you know, not behind the scenes, but I guess like juxtaposed in all the scenes. It's so 80s. Like there's just this weird like rhythmic music. And I don't know, nowadays that's just not what I've come to expect to want from movies, I guess. It's just like, just let the scene breathe. You don't need to have this guitar and drums in the back of while people are doing things.
Well, so McTiernan wanted Michael Kamen to use Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Ode to Joy, which you know, that's the main Christmas theme there. He liked the way that it highlighted the ultraviolence in Clockwork Orange. Because up until explain that to Kamen didn't want to use it. He's like, no, that's like sacrilegious.
Yeah, but isn't the Ode to Joy scene when the safe finally opens? Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it is during that, but I think there's other like themes like throughout the movie.
right.
But he also wanted to mix in other things like Winter Wonderland and Singing in the Rain to underscore, you know, kind of like the villains in the movie. I think it works really good. I mean, if there's any question at all, you know, there's a lot of debate on whether it's a Christmas movie or not. I mean, it's absolutely a Christmas movie. Sure, it comes out in July, but you know, the time frame is during Christmas. There's all kinds of allusions to Christmas. There's Christmas music throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, if you don't think it's a Christmas movie, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I'll walk back what I said. I like the music. Like, I like what would be considered the soundtrack of this movie. I didn't like the score of this movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they got the Run DMC song, right? Christmas in
Yeah.
Hollis.
Christmas
Yeah.
in Hollis, yeah. All right, so since you already said it, then let's follow up a little bit on it before we rate it. I'll go next. The whole Christmas thing with this movie, I think one of the things about pop culture and a very young country like America is that we have to make our own traditions as we go along, right? So, yeah, does this fit in with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Is this centered around like the Santa Claus story or any of that? No, but the story takes place during Christmas. There's Christmas songs on the soundtrack. The Christmas idea, it's a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. It all pervades that. So for me, whether or not Die Hard is actually a Christmas movie, I think the real question is this something that you can throw on every year for Christmas and kind of stay in that Christmas spirit? And yes, I 100% think so.
Yeah.
I think, yes, it's an action movie. Yes, it's violent. But you know what? It has a place, I think, in America's heart, kind of, at this point now, for the most part. You get the people like our good friend Shawnee Mack, who is fucking decisively against this being a Christmas movie. I don't have a problem with that.
I love Shawnee Mack.
Because I think some people are saying, is this movie a Christmas movie, as if like they made it that way? They did not, but it has adopted itself into like our Christmas traditions, in America. Anders, do you feel the same way, or are you like, no, fuck this, not a Christmas movie?
No, I consider it a Christmas movie. I mean, the whole idea, it takes place on Christmas Eve. They're at a Christmas party, which, I mean, I know I'm younger than you guys. Have you ever had a boss who was like, oh, we're having an office Christmas party on Christmas Eve?
I just had a Christmas party like last weekend, so a few weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, but not on Christmas Eve.
No,
yeah.
never on Christmas Eve.
Never on Christmas Eve. You go home early on Christmas Eve so you can get drunk to deal with your family. But it was especially this time watching it again. Like I've been watching a few of like the like Netflix rom-com type Christmas movies this year. One of the first years I've ever gotten into any of those, and this movie's about two almost divorced parents reconciling in time on Christmas Eve, and then Let It Snow plays over the credits. Like, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say it's a Hallmark Christmas movie.
It very much could be. It has the markings to fit in that vein.
If this movie didn't take place in LA, but it took place like in small town Iowa, it could have been an action Hallmark Christmas movie.
Basically, to make it a Hallmark movie, Holly would have had to have realized that her job was not the important thing. The important thing was to make sure she was back with her husband.
You're 100% right.
Or Ellis is actually a lumberjack, and she gets it.
Yeah.
All right, Stu, how do you feel about the whole Christmas angle?
This isn't great podcast radio or anything, but it's just I can't imagine an argument I care less about. If you want to watch this movie at Christmas, great. If you don't think this movie's a Christmas movie, great. It's 100% subjective. Like, I'm never gonna get upset if anybody one way or the other feels this is a Christmas movie. Feel it if it is to you, great. If it isn't, that doesn't offend me. It's whatever.
So if you were to throw this movie in again or watch it, like let's say at any point during the year, would this be something you might save for Christmas time, or you just don't care?
I wouldn't if I felt like watching this movie in October for some reason. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm going to sit on that feeling for 2 months. Like there's no reason. I would just watch it whenever I feel like watching it. But if it's something that you're like, oh, every year my family and I watch Die Hard together on Christmas Eve, I'd be like, yeah, that's great, good for you.
All right, that's the last word on the Christmas movie stuff.
Last word right there.
Last word right there. Let's rate this thing.
Don't judge me, monkey.
All right, so you listen to The Pint or you don't listen to The Pint. It's your first time. Here's how we do it. 0 to 5, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best, quarter and half scale optional. Because Anders was born the same year as this, okay? We're going to let him go first. The baby new year, 1988, gets to give his rating for Die Hard of 1988. What do you say, Anders? What do you think?
So I'm just a tiny bit torn because I don't think I've ever on this podcast officially giving something a 5 out of 5.
Okay,
so
you can do it.
I'm tempted to go down to the 4.75 just to like, but I think I got to go with the 5. This movie's fucking incredible. This movie's pretty much perfect. Like I said, it's paced so well that you think it's about 30 or 40 minutes shorter than it is. I was watching it this time. And I had to pause to go to the bathroom, get a drink or something. And I thought I was like 10 minutes into the movie, but I was actually 40 minutes in. Like they get through that exposition so smooth. This movie it birthed a genre. They are still basically just taking the premise of this movie and making more movies. They did Die Hard 2. Home Alone. Speaking of Harrison Ford earlier, Air Force One is basically just a Die Hard remake. This year alone, I have seen 2 movies that are basically just Die Hard ripoffs. There was the Hulu movie The Princess, and I just saw Violent Night with David Harbour.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, before this movie, there was never the Die Hard in a thing before.
Right. And so they are still, to this day, just making Die Hard in a whatever. So I got to go with a 5.
All right, Anders has done it. He's broken his 5 cherry. Now, Anders, born 1988. Lloyd, born in 1888, when Jack the Ripper was ripping people up left and right. What do you give Die Hard?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, what makes Die Hard so unique is, like Anders just said, every action movie, every Christmas, that's Die Hard over and over. Die Hard was the first Die Hard. This was the first time that you had like a non-typical action hero. He's a normal guy. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's vulnerable. He bitches and complains about his bad luck. He's not like the impermeable Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that. He uses sarcasm to just cope with his situation. It's everything about it is perfect. It's got great characters, great writing, really good action. I mean, great action. Like we said before, Alan Rickman perfected, the Eurotrash villain. It also embodies the spirit of the holiday. Like he said, it's got Christmas decorations. It's got the music. It's got the guy saves his marriage. He saves a day. He saves fucking Christmas. It's got amazing quotes. I mean, I don't even think we talk too much about the quotes, but so many good quotes in this movie. One of my favorites is, "No fucking shit, lady. Does it sound like I'm ordering a pizza?" So it may be a summer blockbuster movie, but to me, it's made for like December viewing. And no question, it's 5 out of 5.
Oof. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to get a lot of hate on this one. I love this movie.
Uh-oh.
I truly do. I love this movie. Oh, you're on mute, Stu.
I was going to say, John's going to be like, it's a 2.
No, not at all. Not at all. I reserve my 5s My much like Anders, I've given 5s on this before. I do love this movie. It is an action classic. Bruce Willis, launched a career based on this. And as we said, Alan Rickman is just so incredible in this movie, and he, created an archetype. But we kind of brought it up earlier on, is some of the action kind of just gets kind of repetitive in this. Like it's not like, to me, like I gave Predator a 5. Predator, I know it's a different movie, but early, late 80s action movie.
Oh my God, that's the first time I've ever realized that. Predator and Die Hard are not the same.
Directed by the same guy. But I just feel like at some points the action in this one feels like the same thing's happening over and over again. He comes across one of the villains, takes him out, or he's running around through tunnels and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with it, but I think that there are movies that maybe kind of had better action beats in them. That being said, I love this movie. I love the performances in it. I'm going to go 4.5. This does not hit a 5 for me, but I'm going to go 4.5. I really do love Die Hard. And I will get, I always get it. Like my buddy Lonnie will probably hit me up and go, "You fucking hate everything."
Right.
I'm giving it a
like
4.5.
RoboCop more than Die Hard.
I do like RoboCop more than Die Hard, to be honest with you. If I had to pick right now, which one, and I think I gave RoboCop a 4.75, I think. But yeah, I would go with that. That, to me, that's more of a film that like I will go back to more often. But it's also a different movie altogether. So, but I give it a 4.5. Stu, I always wait for the Stu take. I can't
wait for the Stu take.
What do you got, Stu?
You know what? You just stole so much of my thunder, because I wanted to give Anders all the credit earlier for saying exactly what I thought, where like the action sequences in this movie are not negligible by any stretch of the imagination, but they do feel like he's in the roof, he's in a tunnel, he's back on the roof, he's back in a tunnel, he's in the room with all the construction. Now he's somewhere else.
They're shooting each other, ducking, shooting, ducking, shooting, ducking. Yeah.
Like the action set pieces in this movie do feel repetitive. You're both 100% right on that. But to me, it's everything else about this movie just works so well. Like the dynamic with John McClane and Al is tremendous. And I love the bits where like both of them and Hans Gruber are all on the walkie-talkie talking to each other. It's just such an amazing dynamic. And Lloyd said, I thought the best line in the whole movie was just do you think I'm fucking ordering a pizza? It's the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker. I mean, that ages so well. It's just a lot of fun. And you really see why Bruce Willis became Bruce Willis. So I hear people say, like, it's the best action movie of all time. No, Terminator 2 is a substantially better action movie than this. But this is still a phenomenal movie in other regards. So I'm going to say 4.5 also.
All right. It's a good average. It's a good fucking average.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is technically the second to last episode of the year. But next week, Manster couldn't make it. It is the last episode of the year is A Forgotten Takeover. So this is technically our last episode of the year. So for me and Manster, you say what you want to say. I think everybody out there that's been listening, that's been interacting, Pint Insiders, all that good stuff, we really appreciate you guys. Manster, if you have anything you want to say, go for it.
Yeah, thank you for all the Pint Insiders. It's so humbling to me that anybody would even consider, paying any amount of money to just sort of listen to us and dig our thing that we do here. Thank you all. It's a pleasure always. It's too bad I couldn't make the last episode, but it's the way it is. Sometimes life gets in the way. And thank you all for supporting us. Thank you for everyone who comes on the show to help us out. And thank you to everyone who listens. It's amazing. Yep.
So we're not going to give you the usual spiel all about our show and where you can find us. But what we will say right now is happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you celebrate, happy everything. Also, happy New Year's. We hope going into 2023, everything is good and safe for you guys. And don't forget, next year, 2023, there is no January. There is only Van-Damuary. That's
Van-Damuary.
All 4 weeks of what would have been known as January in a normal year are going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme films. We're going to have a good time with that. So instead of us saying what we want to say, I want to give Anders and Stu the floor to talk about their shows real quick, where you can find them, where you can follow them. We'll start with Stu, we'll finish with Anders, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, so the website is swoproductions.com. We have new articles every single weekday. I'm doing a lot more series review stuff in 2023, where you're going to see me review every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, every issue Chris Claremont wrote of Uncanny X-Men. I'm going to do a lot more like tackling things issue by issue, episode by episode. And the podcast is the Stu World Order podcast, where we review random comic book movies with our guests.
And Anders?
So you guys can find me on the Bohemian Geek Studies podcast. We've recently kind of brought that one back. We've been covering some content that we think is just way better than we think it has any right to be, whether that's because of its premise or a trouble production or something, but they managed to strike gold. We've also been getting into some forced fandom, where we force each other to engage with content that we might otherwise have avoided. My co-host Flo got me to watch 90 Day Fiance, and Colleen finally got me to watch some anime for an upcoming episode.
That's fantastic. What did you
Stu
watch?
like that?
Yeah, let me know what you watched.
Watched My Hero Academia season 1. I liked it. I can't engage with the anime, the animation style. It's too choppy for me. It just doesn't quite work. I like the story. And then over on the Yet Another Star Wars podcast feed, we just wrapped up our coverage of Andor this season. Probably some of the best character work that Star Wars has done in a good long while. And 2023 shaping up to be a great year. We got the Bad Batch coming back, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, probably the Acolyte late in the year. It's going to be a great 2023 for Star Wars content.
All right. So check those shows out. Follow those guys. All really great content. And until next year, next week you get me and the mics one more time. And then until next year, Lloyd, say the words.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!